Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, May 19th school committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. The audio is a little bit messed up right now, so please bear with us, and we're fixing it. We're working on it. We're going to take attendance to start. Carrie Roach.
Here.
Steve Catalano.
Here.
Mark Conroy.
Here.
Denise Gibbons.
Here.
And I am also here. Tonight we are here to talk about the new guidelines that have just come out from the state, the governor, as well as DESE, and what that means for the schools at this time. Right now, the current mask policy is still in effect, meaning that anyone that is on school grounds during school hours must be wearing a mask, whether it's inside or outside, whether it's for recess or for PE and for sports. And the governor has and DESE has changed some of those. So we're here to discuss that tonight.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Roach.
So earlier today, we had a health and safety committee meeting, myself, Steve Catalano, and members of both of our nurses, Bob, and a few teacher representatives and the Board of Health, a member from the Board of Health, and discussed the mask policy and the potential changes. We discussed two separately, one regarding MIAA sports and the other with the no masks for elementary school kids. And I say elementary because the high school kids, you don't have recess, right? So having no masks outside with recess. The Health and Safety Committee is in support of adopting the new guidelines from the state, where the MIA said that sports, that masks are not required for sports that are outside. And it was stated that even though there wasn't a formal poll for teachers, that they felt that there was support for unmasking for recess for the younger kids. So I just wanted to report from the discussion from the Health and Safety Committee earlier today.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to the mask issue from the Health and Safety Committee?
So I guess I'll speak for myself as a school. Okay. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair. Just as a school committee member, I would also, I don't know if we want to talk about it separate, like the same way we did it at Health and Safety with sports, and then for unmasking for recess. I don't know if we want to attack that conversation kind of the same way.
Sure, that sounds good.
So if we want to just talk quickly about sports and the mask policy, personally, I myself are in favor of unmasking, letting the kids be unmasked for the outside sports. I think that we're seeing it in other districts. I think that it was stated that, our students are traveling for meets in other districts and they're already unmasked there. If you think about the sports that are happening right now with tennis and track and field and baseball, they're socially distant sports. They're outside. I would be in favor of adopting a less stringent mask policy for sports.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Conroy.
Yeah, for sports, I agree for all the reasons that Carrie mentioned, as well as the fact that, when it's our high school sports, with the small exception of the middle school is just starting, but virtually all of kids playing high school have the opportunity to be vaccinated or are in the process of being vaccinated too. So to the extent that, people have chosen to or not to get vaccinated, kind of lends to what degree of personal risk that they would want to take. So, I think that just adds a layer, especially as it relates to high school, that to support going for Miller sports to go with the relaxed mask rule.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Catalano.
I support the unmasking of sports at this time. I was on the Health and Safety Committee meeting this afternoon as well with Ms. Roach. There was no one that pushed back at all on any of this issue around sports. So I do support taking sports out of the mask requirement on school grounds.
Okay.
I agree. If health and safety is comfortable with it, it has all the representatives from all of the, I think, most knowledgeable parties across the town and especially within the school. So I'm comfortable with it if they are comfortable with it.
For sports?
For sports, yep.
Okay.
So should I make a
Madam Chair.
motion? Okay.
Well, do we
Karen.
want to talk about the other parts of it too before we make a motion? And have one new
Sure.
motion for the whole policy? Okay. Yeah, Ms. Roach?
I just wanted to add too that there was some good news out of the Health and Safety Committee meeting that I thought I'd share with people. The Board of Health representative, we kind of talked about COVID numbers in school in the town, and she was very happy to report that there are 0 active cases of COVID in Millis right now. And that hasn't been like that in a really long time.
Excellent. That's excellent.
Yes.
Yay.
So as far as the guidelines for school, like I said, the Health and Safety Committee meeting, the teachers, teacher representatives, although again, I'll preface that they said they didn't do a formal poll, they felt that they felt comfortable enough saying that they thought if there was an overwhelming concern that they would have heard about for the kids taking masks off at recess. Because of that, I think I support also relaxing the mask rule, but I'd like to, I think it'd be nice to hear for Tana and Elise, logistically and what you guys think, and you think it's doable.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I do think it's doable. We've had some conversations about how it would be managed. And the mask is the mask, and it's not like they can just take it off and throw it on the ground. So we were thinking that when they go outside, they would just keep it on and pull it underneath their chin so that it's not being misplaced, it's not being lost, it's not being thrown around. It would just stay here. That also allows for those students who choose to keep their mask on covered at recess, that everybody still has it on. It's just in a different place. So it's going to make them feel a little less outside the norm. If we keep it here, it stays safe, it stays attached. If masks get broken during recess or become dirty, we currently have extra masks outside at recess now for replacements when necessary. So that would just continue. So I don't see it as a logistical problem for us as long as we're leaving it attached.
Okay, great.
Great.
Diane, do you want to weigh in on this?
No, I completely support what Tana says.
Okay.
We're going to keep the students in their cohorts anyways by classroom. So it'll be, between 20 and 25 students that'll be playing at their different sections outside. All the teachers outside that are monitoring the students do have both the adult and the child size masks. So the supply is there should we need it.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead. I'm talking too much if somebody else
no,
wants
no,
to.
it's good. Elisa, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, we're also still encouraging students to maintain distance when they are at recess, and at PE. So even if they are coming near each other, it's only for brief, very, very short seconds of time. So that's another factor to consider as well. And at PE, I don't know if you want to talk PE yet, but I did have a chance to connect with Mrs. Tucker today, and she was in favor of that as well.
Okay, great. Carrie, did you want to say something else?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say, I think in one of the concerns that was brought up, or not, I wouldn't say it was a concern, but we wanted to reiterate that because we're relaxing the mask policy outside doesn't mean that we're going to relax the mask policy inside. That I think that they said there was 19 days left, Bob. Is that what we have left? That yeah, we got 19 days left. So you know, we although we welcome this, you know, kind of relaxed outside, no masking, that all of the other COVID regulations would stay the same inside the building to make sure people stay distancing and masking and all of those, you know, things that we've been doing.
Madam Chair, I think it's important to note that that's not our policy. That's still the guidance that's coming out of the CDC. So we're following the CDC guidelines that was discussed at Health and Safety today. So our internal kind of policy is consistent with CDC, and the external is consistent with recommendations that have come out of from the governor's office in DESE.
One of the things I wanted to know. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, and also the state is also, it's CDC and the state. The state is saying that it's a requirement indoors as well.
Right. One of the things I wanted to note was that in the DESE guidelines, even though the outside mask wearing is relaxed for kids, it's not for adults at this time. And so staff would still need to wear their masks when they're outside for PE or recess or teaching.
Can I just, I mean, I'm not going to question it, but can I just, like, that just, if adults are vaccinated, that just seems backwards to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I believe in my reading, they said they would have to remain masked if they couldn't maintain social distance. So I think if there's a situation where the kids are out running around and they're socially distant, according to the DESE recommendations, they could, you know, unmask for that period. But if they can't socially distance, you know, they'd be required to wear the mask.
Right. Okay, so does anyone else have anything to say? I wanted to look at the current mask policy and see if what we wanted to revise from that. And based on the feedback that I'm hearing, it seems like everybody is on board with the section where it says a face mask or coverings that cover the nose and mouth must be worn by all individuals in school buildings and on school transportation. So we can maybe strike the line on school grounds during school hours.
Yeah.
And then the other part that lists face masks or face coverings will not be required. One of them is during mask breaks. The other one is while eating or drinking. And then the new line would be the new DESE requirements during outdoor recess, physical education, youth sports, and outdoor learning environments. And then they had a note that adults must continue to wear masks outdoors if distancing cannot be maintained. And at this time, adults and students must continue to wear masks indoors. Do we feel good about updating it to say that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just going to delete this and this. Okay. Okay. And one of the lines that we have in there says social distancing will be observed during all these times, which is referring to the part when face masks or face coverings are not required. Would we like to keep that for the outside portion of it as well as the inside portion of it? Or what do you guys think there?
How about
So,
social
Madam-
distancing would be would be recommended or encouraged?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think, so this goes into, you know, as of May 29th, there's no social distancing requirements anywhere.
Mhm.
So I guess the question would be, do we want to abide by that effective May 29th? Or are there instances, especially outside, where we would specifically say it still has to happen? So, for instance, I'm thinking, we have graduation scheduled for June 3rd. By June 3rd, there will be no social distancing requirements or capacity constraints according to state guidelines. So in our policy where we're talking about requiring social distancing, are there instances where we want the social distancing to continue? Or are we comfortable saying that as of May 29th, we're relaxing all social distancing requirements on school grounds?
I think that we can revisit this as we get closer. Upon speaking with Andy, he was saying that he's hopeful that more guidance will come out from DESE closer to May 29th about what that means for schools and how we might change or not change policies based on hopefully guidance that will come out at that time. So we could leave it as is and then come back to it and revise it at a closer date. But if you want to change it now, that's fine too, I guess. Or
I would ask, Madam Chair, I would ask the question from a planning and logistics standpoint for graduation. Can operations wait until the 29th, if I'm not mistaken, is
a Saturday.
the Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
The 31st is a holiday. June 1st is 2 days out. So the question is that enough time? If we wait until the state puts out guidance, is that enough time to actually plan distancing or no distancing? I don't know. And maybe Bob doesn't have the answer to that now. But I think that we have another meeting next Tuesday. Maybe we can figure it out and then maybe address this if we need to on Tuesday.
Well, one thing I will say, I was in a commissioner's virtual meeting today, and he did mention changes to the graduation protocols from the state. And they talked about the unmasked, if it's outside, people wouldn't have to be masked. We're still planning to do, every graduate gets 6 guests. And we're still planning to grid the field. Those of you who were at graduation last year, because we know who the guests are, we can grid the field and have because they still recommend families staying together. So, that's our intention to continue that. The big change would be the people not having to wear masks. And then I imagine we could have like an overflow area if there were other guests coming, but that's the part that, we really don't know what that will look like yet, but we do want to keep the 6-person areas for each graduate. I think this Friday is the lottery for who gets what space on the field and all that. And we just couldn't wait until the state comes out with more guidelines because the graduation's that week. So, it's going to look similar to last year's, which frankly, I thought was pretty successful. I think people like not having to rush into the football field to get a seat right up front. Everyone knew where they were sitting, and we could kind of control when people were arriving.
Madam Chair. So
Students.
potentially late breaking. So like around 5:30, the Mass Association of School Committees sent around an updated high school graduation guidance as of May 19th. So I just forwarded it to everybody in Gmail. And it calls out that the updated guidance, so 3 topics, student masking and distancing requirements. So the updated guidance is when outdoors, students are not required to wear masks and students should distance as feasible. Indoors, they must wear a mask and maintain 6 feet minimum distance. Attendee staff masking and distancing requirements. Indoors is steady state, 6 feet, must wear masks. Effective May 29th for outdoor graduations only. Attendees and staff are not required to wear masks and are encouraged to distance from individuals not in their household as feasible. Attendees are encouraged to wear face coverings if they are not vaccinated. And then the final one is shared materials and cleaning, disinfecting. The updated guidance is permits handling, try that again, permits handing graduates their diploma and awards. And then also graduation facilities only need to clean high touch surfaces and shared objects once per day, excluding certain circumstances. So it seems to all be in alignment with what you're already planning. But take a peek at that and see if it helps. I mean, it says encourage distancing and encourage, everything is around encouraging distancing as long as graduation is happening after May 29th and outdoors, of which
So maybe we
ours
can
is.
maybe we can add that word into that social distancing will be encouraged during all of these times.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
And I would just say moving forward with graduation in future years, the system of having different areas on the football field for the guests of graduates worked very well last year. And that might be something that we continue to do, moving forward, irrespective of if there's a pandemic or not.
One of the things that Denise just read talked about high touch surfaces, and I'm wondering if they talked about that at the Health and Safety Committee meeting minute.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
we really just discussed the mask policy and we said that every other good policy was going to stay as is. So that would include the high touch. That would include the cleaning policy or the cleaning guidelines.
Okay, so those are going to stay the same for the remainder of the school year. Mr. Malini.
Yeah, and John Engler, Director of Operations, people have specific duties with that cleaning and disinfecting every day. And so that's continuing. No change there.
Even though the guidance says that could be more relaxed, we're going to
Correct.
continue to do that this year.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I've cleaned up the mask policy. I don't know if you guys want to look over it once more before moving through.
Looks good.
Good to me.
Dave, can you let Mark back in? He lost his connection. You got
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano.
I make a motion to revise policy 5.11.7 face coverings.
Yeah, it's been moved
Second.
and seconded to revise the mask policy. Any discussion?
Oh, Madam Chair,
Ms. Gibbons.
I'm going through it one more time.
Mhm.
I just have a question about,
Mhm.
oh, no, school buildings and on school transportation. Okay, scratch that. Sorry. We have it covered.
Okay.
I didn't know if we wanted to specifically call out that it's not required during sporting events, but we have youth sports. So I suppose youth takes us all the way through high school.
Sure. Yeah. I think that covers it. Unless you want to say like.
No,
high
I
school
think it's
sports.
fine.
Okay.
Why is that formatting weird? Okay.
I couldn't get it to. line
Yeah,
up
no, I just tried to.
together.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Actually, what, before we vote, I'm
Sure.
sorry. I actually agree with you, Denise. Youth sports almost connotates in town like
Rec.
travel teams and
Okay.
recreation. I think we should just say sporting activities,
Okay,
Okay.
or whether we want to call it team sports or sports. I think youth sports has a different connotation for some.
okay.
How about outdoors? Oh yeah, during outdoor recess, can we just say outdoor sporting events? Then we're specifically
why don't-
saying outdoor.
Why don't we just say both youth and, youth recreation and high school sports or school sports? Because there's middle school teams too.
School sports? Outdoor?
No, youth. I think what Mark's saying is youth and school sports.
Right, because there's, in this whole COVID scenario, there's been distinctions between youth sports and school sports because the EEA kind of dictated school sport or youth sports, where MIAA still had to evaluate high school.
But
Okay.
one would make the argument that we don't control any youth
Yes.
sports, only if they're playing in our facilities.
So I think we need to take the youth out.
I think so.
Just
I
school
agree with
sports.
you. School
School
sports,
sports.
and then can we put outdoor in front? Can we repeat the word outdoor in front of phys ed, school sports, and you already have it under learning and recess, just so that it's crystal clear that we're
I
only
agree.
talking about outdoor.
I agree with that.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. Is this a roll call vote or is it an all in favor vote?
Just all in favor.
Okay, any other comments? It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano,
I make a motion to waive the first reading of the revision to policy 5.11.7 and go to the second. Actually, we waive just the first reading and then we make another motion to go to the second. So I'm waiving the first reading of policy 5.11.7 face coverings.
Second.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to waive the first reading of the new policy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Catalano,
I make a motion to, it's not to, what do we want to call it?
You have the second reading.
To have this, thank you, Tara. To have the second reading of policy 5.11.7 face coverings.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to have the second reading of our face covering policy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None. So motion carries. So I was going to share my screen so that for those of you guys at home, you can see it as Mr. Catalano reads it.
Oh, okay.
You
finally
I-
volunteered.
well,
I
did
didn't
you,
really, I don't,
didn't you make the motion? Does it mean you have to read it?
with all those motions, I had done my share of talking.
Oh,
but you know
okay.
I'll
what?
read it. I'll
Okay.
read it.
No, there's, you could do tomorrow night, Miss Roach. This is a 2-page at best. So, policy 5.11.7
Hold
face
on,
coverings.
I'm gonna share it so that people at home can see it as you read it. Is that okay?
Yes.
I don't know if I have the ability to do that. Okay, can you guys
Yes,
see it?
there you go. We can see it.
We good to go?
Yep.
Okay. Millis Public Schools Policy 5.11.7 Policy for Face Coverings updated May 19th, 2021. In accordance with guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, DPH, the Millis Board of Health, the following requirements are in place until further notice. A face mask or covering that covers the nose and mouth must be worn by all individuals in school buildings and on school transportation. Individuals may be excluded from the requirement per CDC guidance and applicable law if the individual is having trouble breathing, is unconscious, is incapacitated, is unable to remove the mask or face covering without assistance. In addition, mask or face coverings will not be required for anyone who has a medical, behavioral, disability, or other challenge making it unsafe or not possible to wear a face mask or face covering. A written note from a physician or medical therapeutic specialist specific for rationale required for a requested exemption. Requests will be reviewed by the school nurse to determine if an exemption will be granted. Parents/guardians may not excuse their child from the face covering requirement by signing a waiver. Face mask or face coverings will not be required during mask breaks, while eating or drinking, during outdoor recess, outdoor physical education, outdoor school sports, and outdoor learning environments. Note, adults must continue to wear masks outdoors if distancing cannot be maintained. At this time, adults and students must continue to wear masks indoors. Social distancing will be encouraged during all of these times. Student mask or face coverings will be provided by the student's family/guardian. The district will supply a disposable face mask or face covering should an individual arrive at a building or board school transportation without one. The district will have face masks available for all school staff and for students whose masks become unusable. Guidance on acceptable masks/face coverings. The following types of masks/face coverings are acceptable to wear at school, on school grounds, and on school transportation. Blue disposable surgical mask to be replaced daily, not to be washed or reused. Fabric mask, preferably with at least 2 layers of fabric. Face shields along with the surgical mask or fabric mask. The following types of masks/face coverings are not acceptable to wear at school, on school grounds, and on school transportation. Masks with vents, neck gaiters, plastic face shields alone without fabric or surgical mask. If students are in violation of the policy, the student will be isolated and the building principal or designee will consult with the student and the parent/guardian. If that is unsuccessful, the student will be removed from the school building for in-person learning until such time as they comply with the requirement or the requirement is lifted. Violations of this policy by staff will be handled in the same manner as other violations of school committee policy or expectation. The policy will remain in place until modified or suspended by the school committee. There's a legal reference, Commonwealth of Massachusetts COVID-19 Order Number 31. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention considerations for wearing masks. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education reopening guidelines. Commonwealth of Massachusetts Mask Up Masks and DESE guidance as of 5/17/21. And the source of these references were from the Massachusetts Association of School Committee from August of 2020. The first reading was waived on 5/19/2021. The second reading occurred on 5/19/2021. That is it.
Thank you. Now what?
Madam Chair,
Ms.
Chair.
Roach, yeah.
so assuming that we have the second reading of this tomorrow, which is Thursday, then this would go into effect on Friday, correct?
Third reading.
The third reading will be tomorrow night.
Yes, you
Right,
just had
because
the second
we
reading.
waived the first one, the second one.
Yeah, you just had the second reading. The third reading would be tomorrow night.
Right, so we are going to meet again
Which is
tomorrow
Thursday,
night,
right?
Thursday, yeah, we're gonna meet again tomorrow night.
Today,
Thursday.
Wednesday?
Yes, today's only Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So this would go into effect right after the third reading?
yes.
I guess I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes, it would.
Yes, it would go into effect starting
Okay.
Friday or Thursday night, I guess, when we're done.
Okay. So Friday would be the first day that the kids could take their mask off during recess.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Any other comments? Good.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Conroy,
I make a motion that we approve the policy as read.
Second.
Second,
it's been moved and seconded to approve the policy as read. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And I think that's it for tonight.
Madam
May
Chair,
we convene tomorrow night?
Oh, we can meet tomorrow night. Ms. Roach,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second,
it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is this a attendance one? Or is it a?
Nope.
It's a oral
you
call?
can do
Okay.
a general.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. No one opposed, right?